Hey yo, GOAT format players, it's Skill Brown Magician here, and after 2 years, it's returned. It is the first of 7 Halloween themed profiles. It is the Halloween special. It is back again on the channel because I have 1,000 subscribers. So shout outs to each and every one of you. What a cool milestone. 1,000 subscribers before even I've hit 100 videos. So shout out to all of you guys. This is something special that I've been brewing up for these past couple of weeks. I've been really refining my Halloween deck lists, and some of these are updated versions from the Halloween special from 2 years ago, which I encourage you guys to check out. But here's the first one. It is King Skull Zombies. So it revolves around King of the Skull Servants. It is everyone's favorite pet card. It's the card that they want to do well, and everyone has their version of the deck. And this just happens to be my take on it. So his effect, if you did not know, is the original attack of this card is a combined number of King of the Skull Servants and Skull Servant in your graveyard times 1,000. Also, when he's destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can banish another King of the Skull Servants or Skull Servant from the graveyard and special summon him back to the field, but he will be 1,000 attack less because you had to banish off one of your uh, King of the Skull Servants or Skull Servants. Skull Servant, because you're running King of the Skull Servants, you need his Skull Servant, which is just a dark 1-star zombie vanilla, 300 attack, 200 defense, a skeletal ghost that isn't strong but can mean trouble in large numbers. So he's basically a big fat nothing, but you use him in several different ways in this particular take on a King of the Skull Servants deck because I run 2 Emissary of the Afterlife, which brings you some interesting combos, fits into the Halloween theme perfectly. It's basically the Grim Reaper. He has a scythe here, and he is an emissary, a messenger of the afterlife. 1600 attack, really cool effect where he's basically a Sanguine that searches level 3 or lower normal monsters, aka Skull Servant. So you have 2 more recruiters, essentially, that get you a Skull Servant to hand, which comes in handy later. We have Tribe, of course, because pitching zombies in this deck is really good to your graveyard and clearing your opponent's stuff. Breaker, of course, triple Pyramid Turtle, 1 Ryukoki, a Spirit Reaper. We're running a really minimal, like traditional zombie package. Um, my original take on this, it had 3 Ryukoki, which was just way too much. I have refined my deck building a lot since then. Yeah, triple Ryukoki was just a little overboard. However, I think this lineup, it works really well. The 1 Ryukoki, it's you don't want to see him in hand. It's such a bummer when you see him in hand. And then Spirit Reaper, of course, is just really great. And these are all like this is probably one of the most Halloween themed decks I could give you guys. Honestly, just the card art is phenomenal. Then to pair off with all these zombies, bringing them to the field, Cyber Jar and Morphing Jar as well. Because honestly, we are just trying to rip through this deck as much as possible because we are trying to boost up our King of the Skull Servant to insane numbers. Like if we can, obviously, ideal is you get him to 5,000, but even getting him to 3,000, that's ridiculous. He's a 1-star that you can summon off of Pyramid Turtle. Um, Something fun, an interesting fact, is that for King of the Skull Servants, it is imperative. Well, not I guess not imperative isn't the best word, but it's really great that his defense is a named value because his attack value is a question mark, which means it's undefined. But since defense is actually set at 0 instead of undefined, it pairs well with Pyramid Turtle. It fulfills that condition of having 2,000 or less defense. If it was also question mark attack, question mark defense, you wouldn't be able to special summon it with Pyramid Turtle. So fun little fact there. And Yeah, your Pyramid Turtle, it can go directly into another copy of King of the Skull Servants. So you can summon out your boss monster with Pyramid Turtle. Traditional zombie lists, you only run Ryukoki as your boss monster. In this one, you can potentially bring out a 3000 beat stick, 4000 beat stick, 5000 beat stick with Pyramid Turtle. Insane. Morphing Jar and Cyber Jar, honestly, this is like the spice of the deck. Uh, in burn decks, the reason you run Cyber Jar and Morphing Jar, you're just trying to rip through your deck and get more traps so you can burn your opponent for game faster. This one, not that you're trying to burn your opponent, but you're just trying to make a massive King of the Skull Servants and then just swing with them and potentially end the game out of nowhere. Sangan searches literally like almost the whole cast, really useful for getting your jars. And then you can, you know, you have monsters to set before your jars. I would say be wary of setting your King of the Skull Servants and Skull Servants. If you set too many of them and they get knocked, that is great because it's protecting your jars, but you don't want them to get. If you have two of them get knocked, that means your potential for the King of the Skull Servant, it's just gonna go down. Because realistically, you're probably only gonna see maybe like four of them in the game. Whether that's one King of the Skull Servant, two King of the Skull, two Skull Servants, it kind of depends, but it's rare that you see all six. So using yeah, just be a little wary of, just I'm gonna set them right away. Because if they get knocked, it kind of kills one of the main engines of your deck. Uh Sinister Serpent, really good in this deck. Um, we have our typical, spells. We got Snatch. We're running double creature swap because King of the Skull Servants, you swap it and you're basically giving them a zero attack monster, which is actually really spicy. So you have so many different. Obviously, Pyramid Turtle is the ideal creature swap target, but King of the Skull Servants works in a pinch. It's like a zero attack go token. Skull Servant works in a pinch because it's 300 attack, which is really low. And then you can even swap your Emissary if your opponent's monster is bigger, because then you can just, you know, bump your Emissary and it's like you get one of your Skull Servants to your hand. Also, there's Sangan, and then we have Sinister Serpent. We have a ton of creature swap targets. Um, Honestly, we don't sometimes you don't even really care what they're giving you. It's just awesome to even give them something weak and then swing over it, or give them a pyramid turtle and then swing over it. Um, BrainCon. This is kind of optional. I don't think you have to run it, but I really do like it in a kind of beat down swarm deck like this because it basically just gives you an extra summon. And in this kind of deck where, you know, you're going to have monsters that kind of linger, King of the Skull Servants can linger with his secondary effect. He can stay on the field. Um, Spirit Reaper stays on the field. Pyramid Turtle stays on the field. Um, these kinds of monsters, that's already a summon that is left over from your last turn. You still have your normal summon. If you have BrainCon, that's like a third monster, and then if you have you know anything else, it's a lot of monsters to deal with. Double Metamorph, I think two Metamorph is feeling just right. I'm not sure if I had three in the other one. Two Metamorph feels pretty good. It is really a nice play to just straight up rip into the Skull Servant, and now you just have fodder for a Thousand Eyes Restrict. It's really nice, and getting Skull Servant into the graveyard is a good thing because it's getting your King of the Skull Servants. It's going to make that a more powerful draw when you draw it. Because remember, if you draw King of the Skull Servants late game and you already have the graveyard full, he basically just becomes like a 3k normal summon that you can do, a 4k normal summon that you could potentially do. So he becomes insane if you draw him late game. Yeah, so Metamorph, Skull Servant, classic combo. Uh, Pairs really well with Emissary because you're having access to Skull Servant faster. Um, of course, MST heavy, card destruction. Like I said, we're just trying to get these zombies into grave, especially our Skull Servants. One Book of Life. The reason I don't run 2 or even 3 copies of Book of Life is because realistically, Koki is one of those targets you want to bring back. Uh, I believe this is something I want to confirm. Can you bring Reaper back with Book of Life? It's so confusing because he has that effect where if he's targeted, but I think he has to be on the field when that's working. So I feel like Book of Life and Premature and Call of the Haunted, I feel like those all work for Spirit Reaper. And yeah, because he's not on field. But, whoa, sorry, there's some loud noises in the back. Don't know what that is. Anyways, yeah, so I think Book of Life, the reason I only run 1 copy is because you don't want to have, um, you have a really small, limited number of zombies that you're going to be bringing back right away. You can't bring back King of the Skull Servants right away most of the time because you have to wait for these to accumulate in the graveyard. So I feel like the 1 copy has been working well for me. I felt like when I had 2 copies, I would see it too soon. And I felt like the 1 copy was, I would see it when I needed to see it. And I have other ways of special summoning from the graveyard too. Um, Obviously, we have Trinity. As far as the traps, I run the 1 Saku because it's another way to protect my jars, and it's a good card. Clears the field to allow for us to uh, swing in. I still run Torrential Tribute in this deck because it's like I'm running 3 copies of Sangan. So I really like having all 3 and being able to do the combo with Torrential Tribute and just blow up my opponent and then blow up my own monster and recur something, either Skull Servant or anything off of Sangan. I have double copies of Raigeki Break, and I really like Raigeki Break and this kind of package with Skull Servants because the premise is that you use Emissary of the Afterlife to get King of the Skull Servant to your hand, and you can already have a Raigeki Break loaded. As soon as you see Emissary, you know I can set the Raigeki Break now because basically the Emissary is going to get sent to graveyard. So your Raigeki Break um, will be ready to be used because you get the Skull Servant to your hand. So that's a deck profile. I kind of got into the whole, I kind of went a little overboard with the explanations, but I'm excited for the Halloween special. Okay, I do have one match replay, and I will go through it with you here. Okay. Sorry, I kind of have a lot going on in the background. I think we're good though. Okay, so I did win RPS, and I'm going first. And not the greatest of hands, I will admit. Getting both copies of Metamorphosis, getting an early card destruction, and a Spirit Reaper. That's just not ideal. But I can set the Spirit Reaper. I'm going to set it. I don't want to just put it out and attack. And I think, yes, I set the Mirror because I'm going to try to swing in and take cards out of his hands. And it's unfortunate because the bird face. Oh no, bird face. If it's destroyed by card effect, it doesn't get its effect. So swings into Reaper, but I don't use the Mirror Force just yet. And then he just hits me with the Snatch. So I'm glad I actually didn't use the Mirror Force. But he hits me with the Snatch, gets rid of the Reaper, and he wants to go on the beatdown. I get Raigeki Break. I set it. Probably gonna pitch one of the Metamorphoses if I have to. And let's see, he gets Pot of Greed. Things are looking not the greatest for me, but he's just going to poke in with just 1600. I'm fine with that. And he sets one, and no back row. So here I decide to use the breaker. I just wanted to get on the board here, and I swing over him. Birdface does get its effect. He is playing Harpy Ladies. He has a one to negate flip effects. And here we go. I used a Raigeki Break. I'm going to pitch. I'm going to get rid of his face down. And it was Giant Rat. This is honestly a really sketchy position. Did he already use his... Oh, he did use Snatch, so that's why I'm not worried about... That's why I summoned out the Breaker. I was going to say otherwise, just having Breaker in a back row, and then they can just Snatch steal your Breaker and then pop your back row, it's really bad feeling. So typically don't do that, but I saw that he had Snatch and Grave, so we should be good. Here he gets into the spice of his deck. He goes Prima, brings back the Giant Rat, hits the True Nade to get the Prima back to hand so he could use it again later. Does his normal summon, and he brings out Manticore of Darkness. Sick card. He's playing it paired with Wing Beast, because that's Harpies, so that's super spicy. He has like the Wing Beast, he has the Beast and Giant Rat. Pretty dope. And that's enough to swing over my Breaker. That's a bummer. Did not expect that. Did not see that coming. And I didn't expect the Giant True Nade to send my Mirror Force back too. But I'm not gonna lie, him not setting back row was really not good for him, because I do have the answer in Snatch Steal, and I'm gonna make him pay for not setting any back row, because I have meta and I have a level 6. And if you don't know, Manticore of Darkness, whenever he is in the end phase, he's in the graveyard, whether it's your opponent's turn or your own turn. If he's in the graveyard in the end phase, you send one of your cards to the graveyard and you special summon him back to the field, which is insane. So I need a way to get rid of him, and I Snatch Steal him, meta, and we go into Dark Blade, which allows me to banish up to 3 monster cards, and I believe he just so happens to have 3. So feeling really good here. Feel like I put a dent in his life points too. Banished all 3, and I'm feeling pretty good here. I didn't set the mirror, and he has the spice himself. He hits me with the Lightning Vortex. Crazy. Which I guess works really well with Manticore of Darkness having more discard outlets, so that's actually pretty sick. And then he brings out the monkey, and I wish I set that Mirror Force. Sets a back row, and fortunately I get Sinister Serpent, and he pops my back row. That was a bummer. Yeah, if I had set the Mirror Force earlier, I could have gotten rid of the Gorilla, and it would have avoided his Raigeki Break, and he probably would have maybe Raigeki Break my monster instead. I don't know. So things I could have done differently. He hits me with the Prima he's been holding. He pays the 800 so he can negate the flip effects. Smart. Fortunately, it's just Sinister Serpent, and then he hits me with 2000. So now I gotta draw something. I gotta get something going. I do have the card destruction with the Sinister Serpent and Grave, but I gotta get something. And I get Pyramid Turtle. And this works out perfectly because he has Harpy Lady out, which is perfectly 100 attack more than me. So I don't even have to pay that much life points. And I get to special summon out my 1 copy of Ryukoki, swing over the Berserk, and get rid of... Oh no, he still has the Premature out. Okay. And yeah, that felt pretty good. That was a very productive turn. Pyramid Turtle really turned it around. And then he hits me with the card Destruction. That's fine. I get to draw 1 deeper into the deck. And I get Brain Con. And he sets 1 back row. And Yeah, I rip the Pot of Greed, get the Serp, draw Pot of Greed. Now, perfect, drew into the MST. And that's definitely game. I got Brain Con, I got Emissary, and I'm not going to even show the Brain Con. And yeah, that's game one. So, got to kind of see. Did we use? Yeah, we didn't even get into any of the Skull Servants. So, you could see this still can run as a regular deck. Um, Even without getting into the Skull Servant engine, I was still able to get plays off. Started with a pretty crummy hand, and yeah, this deck can still run. So that's gonna be game one. And let's go into game number two. If you guys have been sticking around, I appreciate it. Let me know down below what Halloween decks you would like to see. I'm curious what qualifies as Halloween decks for the viewers. I have my opinions. I already have 5 of the other decks built and replays 2 for them. I'm gonna be recording them soon, and I'm gonna be dropping them every day this week of Halloween. Okay, so game number 2. I had a kind of unproductive turn. I just set the King of the Skull Servant, trying to get him into graveyard. Didn't really have much else. And yeah, unfortunately, he wrecks me with Enraged Battle Ox to just do piercing. That's insane. So he basically just murks me here because my King of the Skull Servants has 0 defense. And I just take, 1700 and then 1600. It was like I didn't even have a monster. It was like open field for him. So that was horrible. And I didn't set any back row. Yeah, that I don't know what is going on here. Okay, so I'm gonna go snatch. I'm gonna try to bait out. Does he have any back row? What does he got going on? I'm gonna swing over. Is he gonna do anything? Okay, he does have something in the back row. Cool. He gets rid of his enraged. I'm gonna set my ring, and then I'm gonna card of destruction the rest. Okay. Okay. I feel like I should. I guess I got rid of the Saku because I was really just hoping to get something good, but I feel like Saku and Ring would have been better. I don't know what his back row is, but I don't think he's going to be setting his heavy. And I don't think he has heavy in hand. I don't think he would use heavy if he already has one set. So I feel like a Ring and Saku would have been better. But I was trying to draw more off of card destruction. So I'm going to normal summon Emissary here. I didn't want to set anything because I was worried that he had a knock in hand. Because it's still early game, and yeah, I don't know. I just feel like he's holding a knock. So I that's why I opt out of not setting Pyramid Turtle. Because I know Pyramid Turtle definitely has more options for me right now. Yeah, it has Reaper, and then it has even Ryukoki. But I just pull out the Emissary and I just tell him, you're going to have to attack into it and lose Birdface if you're going to want to get by him. And then he hits me with Ring, which, normally that's fine because I'm still going to recur. I'm going to get Skull Servant and I have meta in hand, which is pretty sweet. So I can really slow him down since I know he's like aggro. But then this is the issue. He hits me with Trunade, and I already know it's pretty much game. He must have over 3100. Like, that's only a 1500 attack. He has 3 cards in hand. I'm like, I'm gonna ring him, but I know that he has another monster. He wouldn't be doing Giant Trunade otherwise. And then yeah, he hits me with the monkey. Okay, so we're going game 3, and I'm gonna speed it up here. I know it's a little longer, but let's get into it. So I set the Skull Servant, set the Mirror Force, didn't want to get hit by the knock, so I'm protecting the Pyramid Turtle before I bring it out. And yeah, he hits me with the Enraged Battle Ox again, and I'm good on that. I don't want to get hit by that again, so I mirror force him right away. I don't think that was probably the best, but I definitely didn't want him swinging in for 1500. And here I top deck the Spirit Reaper, which is like, if this goes through, that would be sweet. But if, that would have been too good to be true. He sets double back row. He has a Saku. Still have my Skull Servant blocking for me here. And I have the meta. But then here he gets me. He has Berserk. And then he calls back Enrage. So now they both have Piercing, and it's like the same thing. So 18 and then 17. So already off to a rough start. Yeah, Call the Haunted. Didn't expect that. But it's an aggro deck. I should have expected normal summons, extra normal summons. Okay, so here I do have some plays here. Got the BrainCon, Ryukoki, BrainCon, Meta, Pyramid Turtle here. Well, now that I have Ryukoki in hand, my Pyramid Turtle is not as useful. And I only have one Skull Servant. It would be different if I had a couple more Skull Servant in there. Then I could summon out King of the Skull Servants with Turtle. But what I do here is, you know what? I'm going to get rid of all of his monsters, and I'm going to even up the card count. So I bring his Berserk with BrainCon. I'm going to tribute over it. That's one of the reasons I run BrainCon, is for that combo specifically when you have Koki stuck in hand. And I'm going to tribute over it, swing over the Enraged, and now we're back at even card advantage. Okay, he set something, one back row. I get Book of Life, but I don't have anything viable yet. So unfortunately pulled a Book of Life early. But this is what I mean. If I had Book of Life, like 2 copies of Book of Life, 3 copies of Book of Life, I definitely, that's pushing my luck even more. Okay, so here he hits me with Morphing Jar. He's going to let me draw 5. Crazy. Got a pretty good draw here. Creature swaps looking nice. Pot of Greed. Breaker. Call. What do we rip off the Pot of Greed? Nice. More traps to protect. Get us set up. What am I going to do? Yeah, set the Saku. Ooh, set the Call as well. Feeling confident. He has 1 set already. Okay, it wasn't pro set. Heavy Storm, but he hits me. The Lightning Vortex. I see. So yes, that works with Manticore. That's cool. Another discard outlet for Manticore to get to graveyard. So blows up my field, but I do get a card back with Emissary. So it's kind of like a cheesy Sangan. But in this deck, it does get a Skull Servant, which is always good. And maintaining our cards in hand is nice. So here, he's hitting me with the Spice. It's a Cards of Safe Return deck. Super spicy, brings back the Manticore. Gets the draw. And then he gets Saku'd. Okay, maybe he doesn't get Saku'd. Do I have Saku? I do. But instead, I'm like, why use the Saku since Manticore will just summon himself back out? And why don't I just call the Haunted back Ryukoki, because he has bigger attack? So that was kind of cool. That was the zombie flex. And then now we are going into Pyramid Turtle. Hit him with the swap. What do you got? No response on the swap. So I'm going to swing over my own Pyramid Turtle. And then he decides, yeah, I'll Saku my own guy. I'm cool with that. I'll swing over my own Pyramid Turtle. Do I go Reaper here, or do I go more damage? Because he has a 37. Aha, and I go for the damage. Hey, I gotta do it for the replays. I gotta show the fans. How can I play this deck and not even summon the guy? So bringing him up to 1,000 attack here, a whopping 1,000. Going for the damage play. Let's go. And I'm gonna set Raigeki Break. I have the Skull Servant in hand, so I know that I have Raigeki Break alive. Cool. Gets his Manticore going. He did have a Berserk in hand. He pitches it, and then he gets his draw off of cards of safe return. That's cool. He's got his little engine himself. Hits me with Exiled Force. That's a bummer. And then swings over King of the Skull Servants. That's when I'm going to hit him with the Saku. And I think here, okay, if he end phases here, he can still bring back Manticore. And he has 2 back rows. So let's see. Because I was thinking next turn, I was like, I have Breaker. And then I have, what is this? Raigeki set. So yeah, he's got his engine going. That was sweet. So he got 2 draws off that. Double card of safe return. Here I'm gonna go for it. I'm just gonna try to pop another back row, see if I could get rid of it. And it was the wrong one. It's a Jar of Greed. That's a bummer. I don't advise that. I don't know why I just went for it. I'm gonna set the Emissary, set the Torrential, and then just have my King of Skull Servants at 2,000 attack now because of my other Skull Servant I pitched. He pitches his Torrential for Raigeki Break to hit my Torrential. What a tongue twister. And yeah, he like brought himself back into the game. Manticore just sticking around, being a pain. And then cards of safe return, just putting in work. And yeah, I'm not going to summon out King of the Skull Servants with the effect. Snipes my Breaker with Delinquent Duo, but he pays 1,000 for that. So now he's at 1,700. No back row. And I get the Metamorphosis, and here is the play. I have 3,400 life points. I'm going to swing in, crash, get my Skull Servant. He has no back row. 1 card in his hand. I'm going into Thousand Eyes Restrict now. 2,300 attack. Gives me upstart. I'm going to swing. Go into Giant Rat. Summons a Giant Rat out in attack. I got the Serpent hand. Things are going pretty good. And he's not able to switch the Giant Rat. He's got to keep it in attack. Cool. Then as soon as my turn hits, I'm attacking into the Giant Rat. He rings it. So now he's at 300 life points. So he's really just trying to burst me down here, I guess. I'm going to swing into his face down. It's the Werewolf. Another kind of cool Halloween card. Check it out. Pitch Black Werewolf. Mini Jinzo. Then he hits me with Giant True Nade, so my Thousand Eyes Restrict no longer has any attacks. So he bought himself some time. I have the Raigeki Break Serp combo in hand. Get the card destruction. I'm just going to set the Raigeki Break. What are you going to do? Here is where he makes his blunder. He summons Sangan and he tries to attack into me, but that is not how Thousand Eyes Restrict plays the game, and that is game over because he has no back row and he left a monster face up so I could attack. Kind of a bummer how the match ended. It was a fun run while we were going. I think it could have went longer. I'm not sure what would have happened. I think, yeah, he didn't really have much room to go from here. But yeah, that's the match. I hope you guys enjoyed the first profile of the Halloween special. I got 6 more, each coming out every day this week. So check them out. Let your friends know. Happy Halloween. Let's get it. Peace.